I'm going to use a football cliche here because it fits. The final score is not indicative of how that game was played. It was 10-10 at half, tied 10 apiece at halftime. 24-17 early in the fourth quarter, a one-score game. Final score does not show how much of a problem Elon was for Duke. But that also doesn't mean Duke didn't do anything well. Matter of fact, Duke did a lot of things well. I watched the film today, came away wildly impressed with Darian Mensah. Let's hear what Manny Diaz had to say about his team. Obviously, you would think if they're tied at half against an FCS opponent, having to make tweaks on the fly during the game. Here's the coach of the Blue Devils.
There's only one thing we could accomplish tonight, and that's winning a football game, and that's exactly what we did. It was I would say, a nervy start to the game. We felt a little edgy, and it took us a while to settle down. I think you have to give Elon a lot of credit, what we talked about in terms of not knowing a lot about their personnel or their schemes. I think they had us chasing shadows a little bit defensively early in the game, that we had to come in at halftime and really dial in on what they were doing. And I thought we made really good adjustments defensively, came out, got the stops, went touchdown to start the second half. And from that point on, really exerted control in the game. And then to get a score on special teams was really kind of the final blow that put the game away.
I'm going to even speak more specifically on how those adjustments showed themselves, because in some ways they were pretty dramatic. There was a 3rd and 20 first half. So Elon has the ball, and they have a 3rd and 20 yards to go. Most of the time in 3rd and 20, especially if you're the overmatched team, your offensive coordinator dials up a gimme play. Just try to. They're going to play soft. Let's get 10 yards, help our punter out a little bit. Try to play the field position game. Let's call a screen. Let's do something. And that's exactly what they did. They ran a little misdirection run play, almost a draw run play. And guess what? Thomas Jr., the running back for Elon, who had, I think, he finished with 46 yards rushing, had 44 of them on that run. He converts the 3rd and 20. Yuck. That's. If you want something to absolutely make defensive coordinators use words that they said they would never use to teenagers, have a 3rd and 20 be given up on a run play. Especially where there's 3 guys that have him dead to rights, and he just makes them miss. There's 3 open field missed tackles on Elon's running back. But guess what? There were 2 third downs later in the game that I'm watching, and I'm watching back, and I'm going, all right, let's see what they do here. And they ran nearly the exact same play call. Nearly the exact same play call, and guess what? Neither made it back to the line of scrimmage. Now, they weren't 3rd and 20, so you weren't playing as soft. One was a 3rd and 6. I think one was a 3rd and 12. But still, the Elon coaches said, hey, this is one of the few things that has worked tonight. Let's go back to it. And that time, Duke was waiting for it. That's an adjustment, right? Whatever the missed assignment was, it wasn't missed. Or whatever the tackle missed was, it wasn't missed the next time. Then there's another one that's difficult to explain. The fumble. Okay? I'm going to explain to you. You never know exactly what's going on a playbook, right? Which is why it's so hard for people that come out and grade offensive linemen, because I'm going, you have no idea who was his responsibility to block. He may have done his job perfectly, and you thought his man got the sack, so now you're giving him an F. It's so hard to grade offensive linemen. But usually, when I go back and watch the tape, just knowing basic concepts of run blocking or basic concepts of pass protection, you can figure out, if not whose fault it was, where the malfunction is, right? These 2 guys miscommunicated. I watched the fumble where Darian Mensah put the ball in the belly with some kind of a read keep, some kind of an option, put the ball in the belly of Moore, and then an Elon defender is on top of them before the mesh is even done, and there's the fumble recovered by Elon. It's a red zone fumble by Duke, so it takes points off the board. It's a big deal. And I went back and watched it a bunch of times. Multiple angles. Stop, start, stop, start. I know there's a pretty significant missed assignment on the play. I know there's a pretty significant missed assignment on the play up front, probably, but it also might be the backfield going in the wrong direction. But even that wouldn't make a ton of sense. There were 2 guys unblocked, and there was only 1 read, which makes it very difficult. So let's just say this. A team with a new quarterback on the first game of the year had a pretty blatant missed assignment that led to a crucial turnover. Crazier things have happened, right? Those are the things that you almost bake into a game one. You do everything you can to eliminate them, but you bake that in and you try not to let it affect the rest of your game, right? That's one where you go up to the quarterback, right? If you're the offensive coordinator, you explain what went wrong, right? So-and-so heard a Ralph call, you gave a Louis call, so the line split in different directions. We got to make sure we tighten that up, whatever it is. Then you tap them on the shoulder, you say, get ready, you're going back out there after they get this stop on 3rd down. Like, it's a nothing burger, even though it's a huge play in the game, as long as you don't let 1 mistake become 2 mistakes, become 3 mistakes, because you get rattled. Which leads me to, there are 2 things that impress me most about Darian Mensah. Darian Mensah, the $4 million man, to say the least, I was going into that game with a magnifying glass on Darian Mensah when I rewatched it this morning. All right, let's see where this $4 million is being spent. 2 things impressed me immensely. 1, very tangible. 1, pure intangible. We'll go intangible first. His poise is bananas. He was playing well and getting nothing for it. Throws a touchdown pass dropped. Another good ball dropped. Has 380 passing yards through halfway through the 3rd quarter. And he's in a game with Elon. This is one of the top transfers in the entire country. A quarterback that was deciding between multi-million-dollar offers where he wants to go. He chose Duke. He's playing pretty darn well. And they're in a game against an FCS team.
At over 200 yards passing, but at halftime.
And it was tied 10-10
against something's
Elon.
Not right here.
And at no point in time did it look like he went like, what the heck's going on here, guys? He never gave the look of like, help me out here, guys. Never sped up on a play, never pressed, which I thought was wildly impressive because how do you not? Right? How do you not try to throw the 21-point play? Right? How do you not go, I'm going to make this a blowout right now? He just kept making good decisions, kept throwing different arm angles, kept doing what he was coached up to do. That's one thing that really impressed me about Darian Mensah. And I wanted Fultz, right? $4 million from Tulane. I don't even say I wanted Fultz is the wrong way to put it, but I was like challenging myself to find the things that aren't complete. Second thing I'm most impressed by, his ball placement is elite. Right? There's accurate, which is throwing catchable balls, right? Giving your receivers a chance, making good decisions, all of those things. Darian Mensah's ball placement is the correct shoulder. Right? It's if there's a defensive player on your guy's back left, he's putting it low and right, so if they're going to get their hand on it, you're going to have to go completely through the offensive player and draw the flag. Over the shoulder on deep balls, feathers in nicely. If the receiver is on the move, he's putting it, a 1.5 foot in front of your chest so you can catch it running and set yourself up for yards after the catch. And he's doing it on the little bubbles as well as downfield throws. Right? There's kind of 2 ways or 2 levels of accuracy for quarterbacks. Every quarterback is judged by, we'll call it level 1, which is, are you throwing catchable balls? Right? Are you giving your receiver a chance? If it's incomplete, they're going to call it a drop, right? You have to do that more often than not, especially if the receiver's open. And if not, you're not going to keep your job very long. And then there's the level above that, for the guys that are going to try to complete 70% of their passes in a year. And that level is, Like, we used to always say, we used to play the game, right? For those of you that are aspiring quarterbacks out there, here's the game, right? Because you're just going to play a lot of catch growing up. You're just going to be back and forth. All right, take 5 steps back. Now we're throwing 20 yards. 5 steps back. Now we're throwing 25 yards. And you're just going to play a lot of catch. Get your 150, 200 throws in a day. It used to be the chest, 1 point. The head, 2 points. And if you wanted to call your shot, you could call something specific. The Nike logo on your chest, right? Right pocket. And if you hit those, 3 points. But then if you hit the chest and you were calling for like right pocket, you got nothing. It was a whole game, right? It's about throwing. Most quarterbacks are judged on, are you hitting the chest or the head, right? Are you in the right vicinity? Darian Mensah was going out there saying, like, if he's throwing it to a guy who's number 18, the top circle on your 8, boom, ball placement was on point. And then there's this other thing about the Duke game, which is your dominance on the field has to find a way to lead to dominance on the scoreboard. You can't be beating Elon in darn near every statistic. And I know they were close in rushing yards, but it took Elon a billion more carries to get there. Their yards per carry, not the same at all. When you are dominating on darn near every single stat, you have to be dominating more on the scoreboard. And I know they did eventually, right? I know eventually they ended up 45-17 final. But I'm going to make this argument, and I can speak on this like exactly because I played FCS football. The difference between FBS and FCS, and I will go to my deathbed saying this, is not top-line talent unless you're playing a team with like a bunch of NFL dudes. If you play Alabama, the starters are going to be better. If you play Clemson, the starters are going to be better. But for most schools, the FCS starters are pretty good. It's the depth. It's depth. And you can't sub guys out because you don't have guys. You don't have enough of them that are that good. Right? You're not rotating out defensive linemen. You're like, we got 4. If they're healthy, those are the guys we got, and we're going to ride them till the wheels fall off. Meanwhile, FBS has significantly more depth. Which is why if you're scheduling a gimme game at the beginning of the year, that first half, there's a lot of what's going on here, right? And then in the second half, it ends up being like this. And if you play an FCS team at the end of the year, they've dealt with a couple injuries. They don't have the depth to eat those injuries, and you're going to get smoked. So going from 24-17 to 45-17 might not have been Duke waking up in the same way you think it is. Like, oh, good, Duke found a way. They completed everything. They put it all together. Might have just been, well, the gunners on Elon's punt team are also their starting defensive backs, right? It might have been they don't have enough depth to go around, so you got a punt return touchdown. Right? It might have been the 300-pound defensive lineman, of which they only have a couple of, got a little tired, so, oh, look at that. Anderson Castle had to hold the run through. 60-yard run. I'm not giving Duke a A-OK because they finished with a gigantic win high score. I think they have to make sure earlier in the game when they're dominating, the score reflects it. One quick clip here from Manny Diaz, head coach of Duke. He says he wasn't focused on the score.
All week, and it sounds crazy. Don't pay a lot of attention to the scoreboard. The scoreboard doesn't really count until the end of the game. The scoreboard's a timer until it's 0. Then when it's 0, it announces the score to everybody else. And so, like you mentioned, a one-score game at some point in the fourth quarter, that doesn't affect my standard and performance. Just go out and play, and that's why I just felt like once we got going, we just took over the game. And so, I felt great poise and I felt great confidence in our guys in the second half.